So in the last class, we were talking about how to determine the crystal structures, and we said it is the structure factor which decides to a large extent the crystal structures. In fact, we said that the position of a peak is always dependent on the lattice parameter. We said it is the size of the lattice which decides where the theta would be. Why? Because the theta is decided by d for a given lambda, and the d is decided by a, because d is a by square root h square plus k square plus l square. Right? So as a result, the theta is decided by a. So if the a is large, then theta is large. Okay, large or small. If a is large, d is large, theta is small. Okay. So for same HKL, if I am comparing two materials with two different lattice parameters, the same, for example, if I am comparing aluminum FCC aluminum, and take another such as nickel FCC or copper FCC, because the lattice parameters of all of them will be different, the same peak, which is, let's say, the first peak, 111 peak, 111 peak of aluminum will appear at a different theta, and 111 peak of copper will appear at a different theta, and 111 peak of nickel will appear at a different theta. The reason is because the A is different in all the cases, D is different for the same HKL. Though I am talking of 111 peak, okay, the D is different because A is different. If the D is different, the theta is different for the same lambda. So though I am using copper K alpha, which has a fixed lambda, the theta will be different because A is different. So if I am mixing up some copper powder with some aluminum powder and put them into the sample and then send an X-ray, you will see that you will get two 111 peaks. One corresponding to copper powder, copper 111, another corresponding to aluminum 111. So you will get two peaks of 111. We will also talk about how to find out the amounts of these phases by simply looking at the intensities a little later. So you will know that the size of the crystal is going to decide the theta. So if the A is larger, the theta is smaller for a given HKL. And now the intensity, we said, is going to depend on what? Is going to depend on F, and F depends on what? F depends on XYZ. So where the atoms are sitting inside the unit cell is going to decide your intensity, because intensity is proportional to F, which is related to, which is a function of XYZ. So where the atoms are sitting is going to decide the intensity. So you will see that the intensity of any XRD pattern is going to depend on the atomic positions inside the unit cell, whereas the position of the XRD peak is going to be decided only by this. So these are the two factors that we know, and from that, if we start and find out how to determine the crystal structure, we said we simply take the diffraction pattern and take ratios of the second peak sine square theta to the first peak sine square theta, take the ratios to confirm further. For example, if the ratio turns out to be 4/3, I know that it is FCC. And to confirm it further, I go to the third one, take the sine square theta for the third peak, and I know that the third versus the first should be 8/3. If I take the sine square theta of 3, third peak, and sine square theta of the first peak, then the ratio of h3 square plus k3 square plus l3 square divided by h1 square plus k1 square plus l1 square should be 8/3. So once I get these two fixed, then I can say it is definitely confirmed FCC. Okay, I have checked it with the second peak, I have also checked it with the third peak, and second to first ratio is 4/3, third to first is 8/3, it is FCC. Now, to find out whether it is BCC or not is a small problem. The problem comes because of this. Where does the problem come from? If I have so far talked only about FCC and BCC, I did not talk about simple cubic. Simple cubic, if I simply look at it, simple cubic, what is the structure factor F equal to? F into e power 2 pi I hx plus ky plus lz, right? In a simple cubic, how many lattice parameters are there, lattice points per unit cell? There is only one. What is its position? It is 0, 0, 0. Because they are only at the corners. There is no atom or no lattice point inside the unit cell. There is only one lattice parameter, lattice point. So it is 0, 0, 0. And if I put that 0, 0, 0 here, you will get that F, capital F is equal to small f. Because 0, 0, 0, if I put it, it is n e power 2 pi I into 0, which is equal to 1. So that means structure factor is only f. So if you look at it, that for a simple cubic, f equal to small f, or and for BCC, f equal to 2f, for FCC, f equal to 4f. This is what? This is provided there is a peak that is appearing. If the conditions are satisfied. If the conditions are not satisfied, you will not get these two. You will get 0. If the conditions are satisfied, but here you can see all conditions, all HKLs will give you peak. Why? Because XYZ is 0. So there is, like in a BCC we said H plus K plus L should be even. We said here HKL should be unmixed. For simple cubic there is no such condition. All HKLs are valid. That means you will get peaks from every HKL. What are the HKLs that we get? We just now said that you can get that. What are the HKLs for simple cubic? You will get 100, 110, 111, 200 and 210, 211, and the next one would be, if I take the h square plus k square plus h squares, in this case you see that this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, this is 6, and what is 7? How do I get 7? I don't get 7. And the next one comes 8, which is 220, 8. And here is the crux. What is the crux? If I want to find out, okay, whether it is, I get a diffraction pattern, I want to find out whether it is simple cubic or BCC. The problem that comes is, if I start taking the ratio of these two, sine square theta 2 divided by sine square theta 1, okay, maybe theta 2 I will put here rather than putting 2 here, and sine square theta 3 divided by sine square theta 1. If I keep on putting like this, sine square theta 4 divided by sine square theta 1, all these ratios are related to h square plus k square plus l square divided by h square plus k square plus l square. So this ratio for BCC will always be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? For example, if we take the second divided by first, 4 by 2, it is 2. Third divided by first, it is 6 by 2, 3. Fourth divided by first, it is 8 by 2, 4. Fifth divided by first, 10 by 2, 5. Sixth, 6. Seventh, 7. Eighth, 8. Here, if you do that, if you do, so second divided by first is 2. Third divided by first is 3. Fourth divided by first is 4. Fifth divided by first is 5. Sixth divided by first is 6. Seventh divided by first is 8. Right? So when it comes to seventh peak, I see the difference. If I start simply taking the ratios, in case of FCC to BCC, just by looking at the first two peaks, I was able to clearly define that this comes out 4 by 3, immediately say 4 by 3 cannot be BCC, it is FCC. But if it comes out to be, the ratio turns out to be 2, I cannot say it is BCC, because ratio of 2 is also there in simple cubic. I go to the third peak, I see the ratio is 3 here, ratio is 3 here. I go to the fourth peak, I see ratio is 4 here, ratio is 4 here. Go to the fifth, ratio is 5. Go to the sixth, ratio is 6. Go to the seventh, I see the ratio is 7 here, whereas the ratio is 8 here. So if I want to find out whether something is simple cubic or BCC, I need to at least have 7 peaks. That was the problem I was telling you. That it is necessary to have large number of peaks in some cases. If it is FCC or BCC identification, I don't need to bother. Even if 3 peaks are there, I can simply say that this is FCC. If I need to prove that this is BCC and not simple cubic, I need to have minimum of 7 peaks. And how do I get minimum of 7 peaks? Sometimes I may have to use very small lambda to get that. Because I said D minimum is lambda by 2. Right? So if I have very small lambda, I get the smaller D's also. That means smaller D's means larger HKL. You see, the smaller the HKL, the D is large. If the D is large, theta is small. Okay? And if I have larger HKL will always have the smaller D, and that means larger theta. When the HKL is very large, you can see here D is our relation is D is A by square root H square plus K square plus L square. Right? So if the HKL is very large, then D is very small. So HKL is large means here you will get. Why here you will get? Because if the D is small, then the theta is large. Because D is lambda by 2 sin theta. For a first order reflection, because lambda equal to 2D sin theta. D equal to lambda by 2 sin theta. So if D is small, theta is large. So R, in other words, I can also say sin theta is lambda by 2D. So for a larger HKL, D is small. If the D is small, theta is large. That's why large HKLs also always will have large thetas. So first HKL will always be smallest theta, the smallest HKL. And as you go to higher and higher HKLs, they will always have larger and larger theta. And those are the ones which will have smaller intensities, because we said earlier that small f is proportional to sin theta by lambda, is inversely proportional. We showed that this is a relation between small f and sin theta by lambda. As the theta increases, the f decreases. And I have seen that capital F is related to small f, and I is related to capital F square of it. So as a result, I can say the intensity is proportional to the square of f. If the f is small, then the intensity is small. So because the f is related to theta, so you can see large angle peaks or large index planes will always have large angles, and they will have smaller intensities. This is how we can differentiate between the things. But nobody, to be very frank with you, uses all this, because now people have what are called standard handbooks, which are called ICDD, International Committee on Diffraction Data. Okay? There is an international committee which looks at what are all the new compounds, new materials that are being made by people. And whenever somebody makes a new material, he does an X-ray diffraction of it and finds out what are all the peaks that are coming out. And from that, he will identify what is the crystal structure of it. And once you identify the crystal structure, you know the structure, whether it is a cubic or whatever it is. And once you identify cubic or tetragonal, you find out the lattice parameters, A, C, B, whatever it is, and alpha, beta, gamma, depending on how complicated the structure is. If it is only cubic, only A is enough, nothing else is required. And if it is tetragonal, you need A and C. You don't need to talk about alpha, beta, gamma. And if it is, let's say, monoclinic, you need to talk about A, B, C, and also 2 of the angles, alpha and gamma. Beta is 90 degrees per. So you need to give all this. So people calculate all this and give in a standard handbook what are all the lattice parameters, and from that they will also give you 3 columns usually are seen in such handbooks. One is what is called what is the HKL? What is the D spacing corresponding to the HKL? And what is the intensity by the Imax? Out of all these HKLs, one of them will have highest intensity. For example, I have seen that generally the smallest intensity will have the largest I, excepting in a few cases. For example, if I take BCC iron, 110 should have the highest intensity. But many a times you will see that you don't see 110 has the highest intensity, 200 may have a higher intensity. How do I understand this? This can happen only when there is a texture inside the material. That means all grains are oriented in a particular direction such that this particular plane does not give any diffraction, because it is like a single crystal, almost like a single crystal with all grains oriented in a particular direction. So you may see that depending on how the orientation is, if the 110 the orientation is not in a proper direction, so that when a sample is there, X-ray is falling, and if all the grains are oriented only in a particular direction, you may see that 110 may not come at all. And you may see that 200 peak may be larger in intensity than 110, or 110 may be even almost 0. So this can happen. Otherwise, usually if you take a BCC pattern, 110 will be higher, 200 will be smaller, and the 211 will be further smaller, and so on and so forth. This will be 110, this will be 200, and what is the third one? 211. This is how it goes on. Whereas in some cases you suddenly see this peak is bigger than even this peak. This is what we call it as texture. Okay, so that means all of them are oriented in this. And once you see this kind of pattern, what I do is take my pattern, compare it with these patterns. Without doing all these calculations, taking the ratios, all this, simply I take my pattern, find out from my pattern what do I know? I know the thetas. From theta, what do I know? I can calculate the D once I know the lambda. So I know from my XRD pattern, I can prepare a list of D1, D2, D3, D4 like that. From theta 1, theta 2, theta 3, theta 4. I can find out the thetas from a pattern of my own sample, and from that calculate the Ds, and from this find out which are the ones which are the most intense. Let us say D1 is the most intense. Now I start looking at, are there any materials whose XRD pattern has certain peaks with the same D as this my D1. Look out for them and see out of them which one is my sample. And how do I find out which one is my sample? For knowing that, I need to go to the D2 and D3. If let us say, for example, if I take my sample and find out the D1 of my sample, and D1 of my sample is matching with some HKL of, let us say, aluminum. It is also matching with some HKL of nickel. It is also matching with some HKL of copper or whatever it is, let us say. Now how do I know which one is this? To know that, I have to now look at D2 and D3. See if the D2 and D3 are also matching with the same materials, some HKL of aluminum and nickel and copper. And if all my peaks are matching with one single sample, then I say, yes, my sample is that aluminum or nickel or copper. So without doing all this calculation, now people are only kind of fitting with the known patterns. These are all available, even softwares are available which give you all this, and simply you take your material, and in fact the person who is selling you a XRD pattern, he will also give you a software. The moment pattern comes, immediately it tells you that this pattern is fitting to that particular material. So your material possibly is that material. So you can actually fit your diffraction pattern by finding out all the Ds, D1, D2, D3 and D4 and so on and so forth, and trying to see which one it fits with. Sometimes it may so happen that your material is not a single phase, but it is a mixture of different phases. So it tries to tell you that this is these particular peaks are fitting with this, whereas these particular peaks are fitting with this, and things like that. So that you will be able to know that which peaks are fitting with what. And from that I can find out that for example, if I have an aluminum copper alloy, what am I supposed to get in an aluminum copper alloy? I am supposed to get a mixture. If you look at the phase diagram of aluminum copper, so aluminum copper phase diagram looks like this. On the aluminum rich side, there is a phase called theta. This is a eutectic where liquid gives you alpha plus theta. So if I take an alloy of this composition, usually the most popular aluminum copper alloy is 4% duraluminum. All of you must have heard of it. So aluminum 4% copper alloy is a standard aircraft alloy. The whole body of the aircrafts are made with that. This aluminum 4% copper alloy at room temperature is supposed to have the alpha plus theta. Theta is what? Al2Cu. So that means it has inside its microstructure both alpha and Al2Cu. What is alpha? Alpha is nothing but the solid solution of copper in aluminum. So this is nothing but aluminum with copper dissolved in it. And you have Al2Cu. And copper, when it is dissolving into aluminum, the structure of that solid solution is same as that of aluminum. So this is FCC. And Al2Cu is orthorhombic. So once I have this material and take this alloy, subject it to XRD, I will get peaks which are all a number of peaks I will get. Out of this, some of the peaks corresponds to this, some of the peaks correspond to this. To know what corresponds to this, if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, out of these 5, maybe 2 of them correspond to this, 2 or 3 of them correspond to that, whatever it is. How do I know? I simply compare with the standard pattern. If I know already my material, life is simpler. So that I can search for whether which of the peaks are matching with alpha, which of the peaks are matching with Al2Cu. If I do not know what my sample is, somebody gives you an unknown sample, says please find out what this material is, what phases are present. Simply I have nothing else to do but to find out these. First take the first peak. Take the first peak and check which are the materials with which it is matching. It may match with 100 different materials. How do I know which one out of these 100 is my material? Then I go to the second peak. And then look at those 100 once again and see which of those 100 do not have a peak at this position. Eliminate all of them. Now some 10 are left out. Now go to the third and see which out of the 10 will have the third one also. And then like that I go one by one. And then by the elimination technique I will be able to find out that this material is composed of these things. So like that I have to do. And while doing that, you have to also make sure that one aspect, that the intensities have to be taken care. For example, if there is a material whose the first peak, usually in any material the most important thing is the first 3 most intense peaks. If I say my sample has these peaks, certain peaks here, and these peaks are corresponding to some Al2Cu, let's say theta phase. To confirm that it is having the theta phase, I need to be able to see the top 3 most intense peaks of the theta phase which is available in the ICDD should match somewhere with these peaks. If the most intense peaks are not matching, then I cannot say that phase is there. Because the reason is, it is possible that this peak may be corresponding to theta, but may also be corresponding to some other X phase. How do I know that this is theta and not X? To know that, I should know that this, if it is matching with some other X, I should start searching for some peak where it is not matching with anything. And it should be exclusively a theta peak. And such a peak, if it exists, and I can find a peak at that particular position of the theta, then only I can say theta is existing. So the most three intense peaks of this, of that particular phase, whatever that HKLs they are, if they are matching with anywhere here, then I say that phase is existing. Otherwise, I cannot say that phase is existing. It is possible that it is some other phase. So then I start looking for what are those phases. So this is how one can find out by matching my XRD pattern with the standard ICDD and then finding out. But while doing this, there is a problem that we face. What is the problem that we face? Many people have this problem. To find out structure factor so far, we used only F equal to F of 2 pi I e power 2 pi I hx plus ky plus lz. We said this, but we did not say anything beyond this. Does it mean that the intensity is only dependent on this or anything else? We saw actually intensity not only depends on just this structure factor, but many other factors. The reason is this. For example, one of the factors is what is called multiplicity factor. What is this multiplicity factor? Multiplicity factor tells you that, for example, if I take let's say FCC 111 peak is the first peak, right? This is for FCC. What is the BCC? BCC 110 peak is the first peak, right? This is the first peak. This is the first peak here. But if you look at this 111 peak, D of 111 is A by under root h square plus k square plus k l square. Okay. For a given FCC material, I can find out this by putting A by square root 3. Right. Now, instead of 111, if I take bar 1 bar 1 bar 1 or 1 bar 1 1 and so on, for all of them it is A by root 3 only, because it's all squares. Once I am squaring it, all the negatives vanish. So how many such planes are there? 111 type of planes. We said earlier that there are 8 such planes. All 8 of them will have the same D. That means if I have a XRD beam, X-ray beam falling on a sample and getting diffracted, whether this plane is 111 or bar 111 or 1 bar 11, all of them will have the same D. If they all have the same D, according to this, they will all have the same theta, because the lambda is fixed, because my copper K alpha is the one which is falling on the sample. That means all these 8 peaks will have the same theta. What does that mean? That means that in a XRD pattern, the 111 peak will have some intensity falling at a particular theta, and the diffraction that is taking place from this peak also will fall at the same theta. Diffraction that is happening from this peak also will fall at the same theta. So all these things get added up. So the diffraction that is happening from all the 8 planes get added up, and this what you actually see as a peak here is a composite of 8 peaks. Diffraction happening from 8 peaks. It is not diffraction happening from one single peak. It is a diffraction happening from 8 different planes, not 8 peaks, 8 different planes. Sorry, I should not say peaks. Okay, 8 planes. One single peak is composed of diffraction taking place from 8 planes. So the actual peak intensity is a summation of the diffraction from 8 different planes, and this is what we call it as multiplicity factor. And if I look at 110, there are 12 such 110 planes. If I do the sum, what is called the permutations and combinations of 110, you will finally find out that there are 12. Actually, I can put 110 bar 1 bar 10, 1 bar 10 and bar 110, and like that if I go on, I will finally get 12 of them. And that means the 110 peak that you are getting in a BCC material is composed of 12 planes. Diffraction coming. So as a result, it may so happen that if I have a mixture of a BCC and an FCC, let's say I take aluminium plus iron. This is where our understanding has to be very clear. So if I take a mixture of iron plus aluminium, 50-50%. That means 1 gram of iron, 1 gram of aluminum. I take powders, mix them together thoroughly, and then make it into a powder sample, send a X-ray beam, and I get peaks. I get peaks of both iron, I get peaks of both aluminum. So in my XRD pattern, I will have 110 peak of iron. I will have 200 peak of iron. I will have 211 peak of iron. This may be bigger. The first one is bigger, and so on. These are all iron. I will also have aluminum peaks, because this aluminum also is there inside the material. So where are the aluminum peaks? So what are the aluminum peaks? 111, 200 and 220 and so on. So I will have the 111 peak of aluminum, 200 peak of aluminum, and 220 peak of aluminum. Where are they exactly positioned? Depends on what? It depends on the lattice parameters, because D is A by square root H square plus K square plus L square. So it is possible that sometimes this 200 of iron peak may overlap with 111 of aluminum, if their lattice parameters are such that for example, if A by square root H square plus K square plus L square for a 200, for example, D of 200 of iron is equal to A of iron divided by 2, right? Square root of 2 square plus 0 square plus. Similarly, D of 111 of aluminum is A of aluminum divided by square root 3. If A of iron and A of aluminum are such that these two values are equal, let's say, if the A of aluminum and the A of iron are such that these two values, if they are same, A of iron by 2 is equal to A of aluminum by root 3. If so, then what happens? Then both of them will have the same D. If the both of them have the same D, both of them will have the same theta. So you will have overlapping of the peaks also, depending on what is the situation of actual lattice parameters. So if they are not overlapping, then I can easily find out what they are. Now if I look at the intensities, okay, now I have peaks of all of them. I want to look at the intensities. You will see that the 110 of iron will be bigger than 111 of aluminum. Why? Because this has 12 peaks, 12 planes giving you the diffraction. Here there are only 8 planes giving the diffraction. But it is not so straightforward. Why is that? The reason is, if I look at the plane, 111 plane of aluminum and 110 plane of iron, this is FCC and this is BCC, the packing density of the plane is different. The number of atoms in the plane are different. If the number of atoms in that plane are different, then the number of electrons that are interacting with the X-ray beam are different. So as a result, you might see that because the packing density of this plane is higher than the packing density of this plane, you will possibly get higher. That is one factor. Second thing is, the intensity is square of the structure factor. In the structure factor, you are getting this fellow, what is called atomic scattering factor. So now if I am looking at the intensity, the atomic scattering factor has to be considered. The atomic scattering factor F of iron is higher than F of aluminum. If F of iron, why F of iron is higher than F of aluminum? The atomic number of iron is higher than the atomic number of aluminum. So if the atomic number is higher, then I can say the intensity will be higher. This is exactly the problem if I want to find out. For example, if somebody has mixed 50-50 of these two, let's say I have made my life easier by simply taking a mixture of two materials of the same crystal structure. Let's say I take aluminum and copper powder. Take aluminum powder, copper powder, both are FCC, and mix them in 50-50. Let's say that says this is 50%, this is 50. 1 gram of each of the powder, let us say I have chosen, and mix them together. Put them together, send an X-ray beam through it. Then what should I get? I should get peaks corresponding to aluminum, I should get peaks corresponding to copper. Both are FCC, that means I get two sets of peaks. 111 peak of aluminum, I get 111 peak of copper. Because copper also gives you 111 peak, aluminum also gives you 111 peak because both are FCC. Similarly, I will have 200 of aluminum and 200 of copper. Let's not talk about other peaks, only look at these two peaks. Now from this, because I have mixed 50-50, I should expect that peak intensity of aluminum and peak intensity of copper should be equal. Sir, I have equal proportions of both of them, my X-ray is falling on both of them, I should get both of them as equal. You do not see this. You actually see that the copper peak is much bigger than this. Why? For FCC, you see I is 16F square. So I of copper divided by I of aluminum, if I put for the 111 peak, it will be equal to 16 F square, F of copper square by 16 F of aluminum square. If I forget about this 16, then it is F of copper by F of aluminum square of it. Copper atomic number is how much? Copper is 31 or 29? 29. Okay. So 29 and aluminum is 14 or 13? 13. So 29 by 13 square of it. It's almost equivalent to 4 times. If this is 2, let us say it is 4 times. So that means this will be 4 times higher than this. Though I have equal amounts. So this is a problem whenever people try to use XRD pattern to find out the amounts of the phases. For example, I have an alloy with which is, let's say, steel. Steel, if I take, anybody can tell me, if I take about, let's say, 0.8% carbon steel, which is a eutectoid steel. In a eutectoid steel, what are the phases that you have at room temperature? Ferrite and cementite. Phases are ferrite and cementite. Ferrite is a microconstant. So if I have ferrite and cementite and Fe3C, how much of ferrite? 88% is ferrite, 12% is cementite. If you do the lever rule calculations, you will get this. Okay. So if this is the case, I look at the XRD pattern. I should find out from the peak intensities the ratio of I of Fe3C divided by I of alpha should be equivalent to 12 by 88 in principle. Because proportions are this in my Li. But I do not get exactly like this. The reason is the Fe3C structure factor is different. Why? Because the atoms in the Fe3C are 3 atoms of iron, 1 atom of carbon. Here only iron. And as a result, the atomic scattering factor of this will be equivalent to if I want to find out F, if anybody wants to find out F of Fe3C, he has to take it as 0.75 into F of iron plus 0.25 into F of carbon. That will be the structure factor. Because 3/4 is only iron in the Fe3C. Only 1/4 is carbon. So the atomic scattering factor of carbon, which is nothing but the atomic number, proportional to atomic number of carbon, multiplied by 0.25, 0.75 into this. This value will always be lower than structure factor of iron, pure iron. Right? Obviously, because 25% of that iron is taken away by carbon, and carbon has a lower atomic number. Right? So as a result, the structure factor of Fe3C is lower than the structure factor of iron. As a result, what happens is, first and foremost is Fe3C is only 12% in the microstructure, and its structure factor is also smaller. So as a result, you will see that the peak of Fe3C will be much smaller than the peak of iron, peak of alpha, and it will be difficult for me to even detect. Many a times when you take a steel and send an X-ray beam, you will actually find that all the peaks are only iron peaks, alpha peaks. You do not see any Fe3C peaks at all. The reason is this. And if I'm talking of 0.8%, if I take a mild steel, 0.2% carbon steel, obviously in that the cementite is much smaller, and as a result you may not see any Fe3C. So it looks as if for an XRD, it looks as if it is a pure iron. And I do chemical analysis and I find no, it is not so. And I do microscopy and do an optical microscopy. I see yes, there is cementite inside. But I don't see cementite in the XRD pattern. So this is a problem with XRD, that because XRD is a bulk analysis technique, when you have two phases and one has a lower volume fraction than the other, and if this lower volume fraction material has a lower atomic scattering factor when compared to higher atomic fraction of material, then you will see its intensity will be very small. And the reverse also can be true. For example, if I mix up, let's say 90% of aluminum with 10% of tungsten and take an XRD pattern, you will actually see that the tungsten peak may be even bigger than aluminum peak. It appears as if that the material is tungsten rich and aluminum being very small. The reason is this. Because if I take the ratio of I of tungsten divided by I of aluminum is nothing but the ratio square of, for example, this is tungsten is BCC. Okay. So 4F square of tungsten divided by 16F aluminum square. That is how it is. One is BCC, one is FCC. So if I look at this tungsten, whatever is the atomic number, if you find out, you will find that this ratio possibly could be larger than 1, and it could be even much larger than 1. If it is much larger than 1, you will see the tungsten 110 peak BCC, because this is BCC, 110 peak of tungsten may be much larger than the 111 peak of aluminum, though you know that this fellow is smaller in amount. So this is a major problem in XRD. You cannot simply use XRD to find out the amounts of phases, though many people simply use it. Okay, simply they take the ratios of the peaks and then say the ratio of the peak will give me an idea of the amount of the phase. It is true only when you can do the corrections for this. There is something called Rietveld analysis in which people do corrections for the actual atomic positions. And when you do the corrections, you will get the correct picture. Until then, you won't. So this is how we can actually, understanding the limitations of what XRD can do, we can still find out the structures of materials and find out the lattice parameters of the materials and do a lot of things. And we will see what else we can do with XRD in the next class.